Hi and welcome to From the Shed. I'm Pete George, the host, and in this special episode we are going to be talking to the wonderful Irishman Shane Mack about the Unibet Premier League, which is starting on the 25th over in the UK, but will be the 26th here. G'day Shane, how are you?
Not too bad, Pete, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad for an old fart, but I'm getting there.
Well, I was trying to be nice, but...
Yeah, so... we're starting to step up the darts, which is good, mate. We had the match play, and that was won by Dimitri Vandenberg, which was a good win for the young fella.
Yeah, it was surprising to see him in the final, and it's good to see darts back on TV, even if it is without the crowds. It's nice to have something to watch.
Yeah, listening to the players. In the interviews, they still felt that the atmosphere was there behind them. Consequently, when they're looking at a board, so
I think the PDC done a great job in recreating the noise and the atmosphere in the background.
Yeah,
because obviously while they're looking ahead and they can hear the chanting, they don't know there's no one behind them, like they do. But then again, it sounds like there's people there. So
yeah, no, it's. Like having been down in Melbourne and done the Brisbane Masters, they certainly know how to put a show together. And talking about the World Series, Kyle Anderson's pulled out again of another tournament, and it's down to personal reasons. Now, a lot of people may not know that Kyle had COVID-19. He was isolated for close to a month, I think it was, here in Australia, but he's back over in the UK. And so is Damon Hedder. They've got back over, but Kyle's put out again. What are your thoughts on that?
It's strange, because he hasn't had too many opportunities, in recent years, bar the World Cup, playing in the World Cup matches, and then the darts, like the World Series, has been something that has always kind of got him back in, given, when it comes to Australia and New Zealand, that he is the one of the top ranking Aussies with, who plays on the Oceania scene. So it's strange. It's like he's got the golden ticket and he's giving it away. Yeah,
I get frustrated with him because, when you sit there and watch him, and I've seen him in an exhibition match and things like that, he's an extremely talented darts player, but,
you don't end up in the PDC if you're not. The guy's got probably bags of talent that, you've seen, he's hit, I don't know how many 9-darters on TV in comps and stuff, and you scratch your head and you go, we know you've got it. He's definitely got the talent to do it.
Yeah.
And look, if it is personal reasons, it is quite hard to put those personal reasons, whether it's family or just himself, it's hard to say exactly what.
Yeah,
it's hard to put that stuff aside and concentrate on, playing the game.
Yeah.
I can see.
I just think that, he's a lot of the indigenous communities are really connected to family, and the separation from that must be hard for him, and I understand that. But as we were talking prior, we just find that, it's not easy being a professional sportsman, especially in the darts, where when you have a look at, say, for instance, your top guys that we're going to talk about tonight in the Premier League, in a normal non-COVID time, they'll play, say, the Tuesday, the Premier League, and then they could be in Europe by Thursday, play 3 days over in Europe, and then back into the UK to play the Premier League again on the Tuesday night. So it is a hectic schedule. I'm not saying that Kyle's doing that, but the actual travel could be the big component, I think, for Kyle.
Oh, the process involved in even just traveling. You see the guys who play locally on the DPA, and that's only once a month. But even the sacrifice they put in to go to those comps, then you're trying to get yourself up from, like you said, you're playing the Premier League on a Tuesday, and then you're playing, another comp on the weekend. Like the roller coaster of emotions, never mind the traveling, the different hotels, living out of a suitcase, trying to keep your rhythm, trying to keep your form. Like the factors that go into it, especially mentally, must be astronomical.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. And then you have a look at someone like Rob Cross, another baby just popped out in the last few days. And come the 25th, it's pretty good, though, that most of the Premier League now is going to be I'm pretty sure it's all going to be played at Milton Keynes. It's all going to be behind closed doors. So he's got to be a little bit closer to family, but, new bub's on the way, and then you're often playing darts, but that, once again, it's your job.
Oh, and the guys who are up, in that top kind of 50 bracket all make substantial money from it. And then you got sponsorships and endorsements and all that sort of stuff that goes with it.
Now talking about a little bit of sponsorship, the darts segment now has a little bit of a supporter and sponsor. And a quick shout out to Avid Darts here in Australia. You can actually go online at aviddarts.com and buy all your darts gear there. There's a little plug for you, Mark. And we got a little bit of surprise in one of the shows that are coming up. He's giving a little bit of a giveaway for our listeners. So make sure that you listen to us from the shed on all the social media, as well as connect with us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So, Shane, let's get stuck into the Premier League tips. And I've seen yours, and they're pretty ordinary, son.
Yeah, well, huh? What did you expect? I didn't think you were hoping for a miracle or anything.
So, the first night back for the Premier League is going to be their night 7, which I've always said, or have said, that it's on the 25th, 26th here in Australia in the morning around about 5 o'clock. The opening match of that one is Michael Smith versus Gary Anderson. I'll do my tips first, and I've gone for Gary Anderson. Runner-up in the world match play. He's been practising hard, and on all reports he's been practising even harder after losing to Dimitri. And I just think Gary will be too good for Michael. Michael's too hit and miss still for me.
Yeah, I've gone Michael Smith on a knife's edge. I think I do agree with you. Gary Anderson will be filthy after not just losing to Dimitri. He'd be filthy on how he lost. That was probably his worst game out of all of them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was his worst.
I think he'll be fuming, and he probably has put the hours in on the board. I just think Michael Smith is maybe growing into the player that everyone thinks he is. He's made the commitment. He's dropped a bit of weight, and he seems to be trying to do more mentally while he's on the stage to help him through those bad spells that he normally has.
Yep.
I think we could be seeing the tide turn for Michael Smith.
I hope so, because he's got a lot of potential, and it was quite interesting at the Melbourne Masters. I was talking to Rod Harrington, and he wants to get Michael Smith and give him a shake-up because he reckons he can turn him into a world champion.
Michael Smith gets on a roll, and there's nothing better to watch.
No, he's fast, he's accurate, and he's good.
Oh, it's just so fluent, and he's just it. He doesn't even look like he's looking at the board, and he's just pounding treble 20s all over the place.
Yeah, we can only wish. The second match is Michael Van Gerwen versus Rob Cross. I was nearly going to put this down for a draw, but I've got to go with Van Gerwen, even though he's out of sorts. He lost his first match in the world match play to Aussie Simon Whitlock, and Rob Cross is out of sorts as well. But I am going to go with Michael just on that one. So I'm not confident. Michael just, but if he starts fiddling with himself and playing with his socks and twitching behind, he's in trouble. That's his telltale sign when, you're watching Michael Van Gerwen play. But for me, Van Gerwen. And your tips, bud?
Yeah, I've gone with Van Gerwen as well. I just think Rob Cross is so out of sorts at the minute. He just looks like a guy who doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Maybe now that his wife has had their new child, it might give him a centre of focus again. So you could see again a change in Rob Cross.
Yeah, I think he got
after Van Gerwen's run at the World Match Play. I think Van Gerwen will be like a man possessed.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say with Rob is that he was one of the unfortunate people that during the COVID-19 lost his grandfather, and he wasn't able to see his grandfather. I think that played a lot on him as well, but hopefully I think the baby's name's Harry, but I could be corrected, but hopefully the new Bubs will put a bit of spark back into him.
Yeah, and that would be very tough, especially mentally, and trying to, stand on stage and play while the old COVID thing and then losing his grandfather. But yeah, hopefully the new Bub has inspired, has given him a bit of a new lease of life and a bit of fire in his belly again. Because again, Rob Cross is one of those players that you enjoy watching playing.
Yeah, he's a good bloke as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the next game is one of my favourite players, Nathan Aspinall, and versus Gerwen Price, who I do like watching, even though everybody thinks he's a shit. But, give it to him, I reckon. But, I've gone for Aspinall in this. Once again, in the match play, Gerwen Price has lost the first time for the 5th year in a row in playing it. And I just think Nathan Aspinall, he's a bit like Smith. Once he gets on a roll, he's very, very good. So I've gone for Aspinall there. Who you going for?
I went with a draw, to be honest. I couldn't separate them. I think Aspinall is one of those players who likes to give it a bit of large when he hits a good score.
Yep.
Which will only pump Price up as well. So it's hard to say because both of them, if they get on a good run, could easily run away with it and whip the other one 7 straight. I just think Price, again, after his poor performance, will be looking to bounce back and kind of let everyone know that it's only that tournament that he doesn't play well in.
Yeah, and I got a funny feeling that and one of the other reasons I went with Aspinall was that the crowd plays a big part in how he performs, I think. And this will either make a fool of me or not. But if he doesn't perform here with the ability that he has, I think it's a psychological thing for Gerwen. But, yeah, I'm comfortable with Nathan, but I wouldn't be surprised too if it was a draw.
Just touching on what you said about Aspinall in the sense that he's a bit like Michael Smith. I think Aspinall is by far mentally tougher than Michael Smith.
Yeah. Mentally,
on stage, he seems to refocus and reset himself a lot quicker.
Yeah, and he's one for any of us amateurs or semi-professionals out there. Watch his demeanour off the oche. You'll see him just sit there, and sometimes he'll just close his eyes, and it's like he's been to a sports psychologist, to be honest, and that's how he refocuses.
He's very positive. He's tough on himself, but he's positive when he walks behind and he's standing waiting for his throw. Yeah.
So, that'll be a good match. And then the next one is the contender for the night, which is Chris Dobey, Hollywood himself, versus Daryl Gurney. I've gone for Chris Dobey for no other reason than I don't like Daryl Gurney much. He's dropped the weight too. There's been a fair few people lose weight over the COVID period that they were off, but Daryl Gurney's too hit and miss. And for me, he's too laconic. He just seems to be a lazy darts player. And Chris Dobey, he's got a little bit of a killer instinct. So I've gone for Dobey there.
Yeah, I've gone for Dobie myself. I think that Dobie's one of those up and coming players, and he seems to try and take the chances when he gets them.
Yeah.
And I think that he will be. I just think Gorney's not playing well at the minute at all.
No, he's way off.
I think Dobie will come out with, that young fire in his belly, trying to stamp an impression in the Premier League to hopefully get him back into the contendership next year, or maybe force himself a spot.
Yeah, well, the money that he'll
through
earn,
the tournaments.
Yeah, the money that he'll earn if he does win on this is, quite handy for him. It's more than the weekends that he normally plays, so it could help him along the way there.
Just touching on what you said, like I've listened to an interview with Gorney on how everyone thinks he's got no personality and he's just a sap on stage.
Yeah.
Pretty much, like he's like a fun sponge. He doesn't look like he's enjoying any moment of it.
Yeah,
and him and his manager have both said that it's controlling his heart rate. If his heart rate gets over a certain level, he just turns to absolute rubbish.
Okay, so
and that's what it is. He tries by being so he looks like he's on Struggle Street with the way he walks around.
So in reality, that's his version of dartitis.
Nearly, yeah. It's he's doing that to calm himself down, to keep himself at that optimal heart rate level, where he doesn't push past it, where he just loses the run of himself.
Yeah,
which I thought was quite interesting, and it changed my opinion of him quite a lot.
Yeah, and
I understood why he was so kind of withdrawn from the emotions of the game.
Yeah, it's good to know, because I didn't even know that, and if that helps him to be a better dart player, all to him, I reckon. So
yeah, well, hopefully he'll produce something against Dobie, and we're in for another crackering game.
Yeah, but I think this game will be the best game of the night, the next one, and that's Peter Wright versus Glenn Durrant. I'm a big fan of Durrant. You don't become a 3-time world champion for no reason. It doesn't matter whether it's BDO or PDC. You've got ability, and you've got ability under pressure. He crumbled in the semi-final of the match play, and I think he'll be the first to put his hand up for that. But this is a rematch from the match play. I think it was the round of 16 that Peter Wright and Glenn Durrant played. And this was a toss of a coin. I only went with Durrant because I think he's in a little bit better mindset than Peter Wright at the moment. But this will go either way, but I have selected Durrant. And who have you gone for, young man?
I've gone with Peter Wright. I think in a sense, Durrant was lucky in the last match in Peter Wright missing doubles. And if Peter Wright hits that roll where he doesn't miss those doubles, there's no one beating him.
No,
his averages are off the chart. When he's finishing, he probably out of all the players takes the longest to actually aim, whereas a lot of the other players are very much rhythm players.
Yep.
And him and Durrant are similar in that regard. Is they take that little bit longer to throw the dart, and it's more kind of aimed rather than a rhythm.
Yep.
And yeah, look, Durrant is what he's done, even coming to the PDC when everyone said it was impossible. You're only a BDO. Has been, and he's not a young man either.
No,
he's not doing this in his peak years. He's doing this later on in life. So you got to tip your hat to him. And he's up there at the top of the Premier League at the minute. So I do agree. I think it's going to be the game of the night, and it could go either way. But I'm going to push right for. I think he'll be looking to again bounce back after Durrant taking him, and it's not often you beat Peter Wright twice in a row.
No, and I think what it's going to come down to, who gets the biggest checkouts. This is going to be. I think this is going to be a checkout territory of 100 pluses. And I think that's where it's going to fall, I think. And based on that, Peter Wright's a better 100 plus check-out player than Durrant, but I'll still stick with Durrant. Now, just for people that don't know, that listen to the podcast, the Premier League, as you probably heard, that we talked about a draw. It's the first to 7, but it can be 6 all. So there can be a draw, and that's why Smack's got a draw. Now, here's something hot off the press, young Shane.
Yes.
The prize that's going to be over the Premier League and the start of the World Series of Darts will be a set of MVG adrenalines.
Oh, very nice.
How's that from Avid Darts? So where do we go? aviddarts.com. So thanks for
I have actually personally thrown those darts, and they are quite nice.
Yeah, so just make sure that you subscribe everywhere, and we'll have a little bit of a competition page on wejustlovesports.com. So that wraps up the first night of 3 in a row, which is good for us dart junkies. I'll be down at having a weekend away over that period. Going away with the wife, a little special treat. But then we go to night 8, and then we have in the first game Gary Anderson versus Gerwin Price. And we're both, well, this one's simple. We can just talk about the games. Our tips are the same in this one. This is the only one we've got the same tips. So
that doesn't happen often.
No, and funnily enough, folks, we did these separately. I just said to Shane, put your tips together, here's the games, and this is what came out. The first game's Gary Anderson versus Gerwin Price. We have both gone for Anderson. What made you go for Anderson, man?
Oh, going off the last few games that Anderson and Price have played, there's obviously some bad blood there, and they seem to bring out that bit of mongrel in each other.
Yep.
And I just think that's something you don't do to Anderson. If Anderson can channel that into playing, and he's just going to go up and beat you off the board, there's no one better.
Yeah, and I totally agree there. And but if Gerwin comes back from this little short break in between the match play and the Premier League, like he was at the end of last year, it's got to be a tough match. But yeah, Gary for me, he's just started the return off nicely, and he's doing quite well. But as you said, there is a little bit of bad blood there, and could be a bit of a fun match.
And Price is also one of the players who has lost some weight over the COVID period.
Yeah,
which you probably look at Gerwin Price and you're like, well, the man doesn't need to lose any weight.
No, he's a bit of a tank.
I don't know whether it's done him any favours.
Yeah, it's quite interesting though when you listen to the guys interviewing that they're saying when they've dropped the weight, they feel that their concentration is a lot better, which is a good thing. Maybe
him coming from the rugby background, where he's probably been in and around the weight, probably even heavier.
Yeah.
While he was playing rugby, like that's kind of his optimal body weight.
Yeah.
Where he's in the best condition. He's built a career around being at that weight and being mentally strong in situations for a long period of time. I just wonder if him losing the weight has just taken a bit away from his body's kind of optimal range. Yeah,
it like if you've ever lost weight, your body takes a little while to adjust. Like playing when I was playing football, and you play cricket and you put on a bit of weight, and then you go to footy pre-season. Took a fair while for your body to readjust back to your footy weight. So could be a valid point there, young man. You're not just
like you see the bigger guys, like Michael Smith's dropped a heap of weight, Rob Cross, but they're not by any means fit men.
No.
Even with the weight loss.
No.
So generally their stamina increases because they're not carrying the same amount of weight, and the mind's a bit clearer because they've been eating healthier and working out. I think for someone like Gerwin Price, who has always done that, I think he's actually pushed himself in the wrong direction.
Yep.
But that's just my little.
Well, let's see how there he goes because, an up and running Gerwin Price is good for darts as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone needs a Bond villain.
Yeah, he's a good lad. The next game is Nathan Aspinall and Daryl Gurney. We're both gone for Aspinall in this. I think Daryl Gurney will be still at the bottom of the ladder, like he was. I think he ended up on the bottom of the ladder last year.
Yeah, if he didn't, he wasn't far away.
Yeah. So Nathan easily on this. This could be a 7-0 drubbing, I think. Because once Nathan gets that run on, if he has a good win the night before, plays this one, I don't hold much luck for Daryl Gurney.
Yeah, I've gone the same. I've gone with Aspinall as well. I can't in the current form of things. I can't see Gurney beating Aspinall in any way, shape, or form. Aspinall turns up and throws left-handed.
Yeah. Then the next match is Michael Smith versus Rob Cross. We're both going for Smith. Rob's form is way out of form, and it doesn't take much for Michael to get on a roll. I got to go with a score on this one, so we've gone the same. I got to go Michael Smith 7-3.
Yeah, I went Smith with 7-4. I think Rob Cross will be there or thereabouts in most of the legs. Like we said, hopefully his form picks up.
Yeah, it's just I suppose it's like any sport. At this level, you have your ins and outs, and hopefully he gets back in to an in.
Oh, and the harsh reality of the Premier League is whoever turns up in the night is really going to win that game.
Yeah.
And that's all of the games. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, all of those guys have the ability to beat each other.
Very true.
And that's what makes the Premier League so exciting, is that you could get a snowfest, and then you might get an absolute ding dong where it's 180s, big checkouts.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I think the next game, which is Michael Van Gogh and Glenn Durrant, we're both gone for Durrant based on how well he's playing, and he's got a little bit of form over Michael Van Gogh as well. I don't think his style of play suits Van Goghen's. I think Durrant is a bit slower, and I don't think MVG likes the slower play. He is a rhythm, fast, beat the board kind of player. And I just think Durrant's style of play just puts him off a little bit. Yeah, just that, like the speed or the slowness and the directness and the purpose of the drawback and everything, and even taking the darts out of the board, he's methodical just about. Whereas Michael's bang, bang, out. And we had spoken about this previously, at the match play, Van Gogh looked like he had changed his darts. Yeah, that was Van Goghen's had the same, been using the same sort of set of darts since he was a kid. Since he broke onto the scene, he was using the same barrel, that same style. And since he switched over to Windmill, he's had a different set, and they just don't seem to be sitting all flying just the way he wants them yet. Was it last year's World Championship where Rob came out with those weird darts that he had from Target and lost in the first round? Yeah, he had a Phil Taylor. Yeah, they were like dimpled. Hole on the back of them. Yeah, and it's just amazing how and people new to darts or not knowing darts, how once you get the feel, I've just gone back to a dart that I started with ages ago, the shot tribal darts, and I'm just comfortable where my thumb sits in the groove that they got at the back. It's just the way I hold the dart, and for these guys at this level, it's just like a golfer with their golf clubs. They're so used to playing with the same thing, and when a sponsor turns around and says, "You got to use these, buddy," it's got to throw them off a bit.
Yeah, you take anybody out of their comfort zone and give them something that's uncomfortable, and then tell them to perform the same way they were while they were comfortable. There's not many people who can turn around and do it. That's what makes the likes of Barney and Taylor. If you have a look at the changes in their setup over the years, like they changed a lot and still won.
Yeah, they're the two anomalies
rather than the rule.
Yeah, they're the two anomalies of the sport of darts. Those two, they're freaks of nature. A bit like a Tiger Woods and a Jack Nicklaus type scenario. Those two. The last game on night 8 is Peter Wright versus Jeffrey Deswan. Peter Wright will destroy Jeffrey, unfortunately. But having said that, he can pull out a good game every now and again, Jeffrey Deswan. So he's the contender for night 8, and on the last game against world champion Peter Wright. We've both gone for Pete. And I just think, the quality of his darts will just be too much for Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey Deswan is. You've seen him push some of the top players over the last few years in big comps as well. So he's definitely got the ability. I just think that Peter Wright will be too much for him. And then with it being behind closed doors, he won't be able to feed off that Dutch atmosphere.
No, because
that he normally has. I think that'll dent him a little bit.
Yeah, because this game was supposed to be over in where is it? Over in Holland anyway. It's going to be in his hometown. I think it was his hometown. But, yeah, it's going to be hard. And the hard thing, too, for the contenders is that they've got to show up on the night to make a name for themselves if they can. Whereas, like the non-contenders, like the Peter Wrights and Rob Crosses and that, they can have an off night and still come up the next week. So, yeah, it's a good setup. I love the Premier League.
Yeah, the introduction of the contenders has been something that has kept it quite entertaining.
And in some ways, and I'll have a bit of a chuckle about it. It was probably when Barney retired. That was probably one of the best things he did for the game, pulling out of the Premier League, because they had to do something.
Yeah, well then, they had put someone else in, and then Gary Anderson pulled out with that back injury.
It was Gary Anderson with his back, and then they come up with a contender, which is a good thing. I think it'll stay, and I hope it does, because it's good for the sport. Now
you look at some of the walkouts it's produced.
Yeah,
like Henderson's, in Scotland.
Yeah, If you
reckon it broke every decibel level going.
Yeah, if you don't get a little bit goosebumpy with that when he's walking out with the bagpipes going over him, that's you're not human as far as I'm concerned.
And then earlier in the year before COVID hit, you had Willie O'Connor's walk out to Zombie in Dublin.
Yep, that was huge.
Like, being an Irishman myself, that one was pretty special even for me, just to watch. I can only imagine being in that crowd and everyone chanting along to it, what the atmosphere would have been like. Yeah,
you would have. You wouldn't have even thought you'd thrown the first 9 darts, I don't reckon.
I'd say by the end of the game, I'd say he was on cloud 9.
Yeah.
The whole way through it.
Yeah. So, night 9 of the Unibet Premier League, and the first game that we've got to look at is Glenn Durrant and Rob Cross. We're both gone for Glenn on this one. Like we've discussed throughout with Rob, if he comes back and he's switched on and he's ready to go, he'll push whoever he plays in these first 3 nights. But based on what we've seen at the match play, I still have to go with Durrant.
Yeah, I'd still be going with Durrant myself. I'm really hoping Rob Cross does pick up his form over the first couple of nights, and that when he hits this game, because both of these guys can score well and check out big, and it would be really good to see both of them playing at a decent level. because that would definitely be a game worth watching.
Yeah, it certainly will. And then even the next one, you've gone a draw and I've gone on for Michael Smith. It's Nathan Aspinall versus Michael Smith. And hold on to your hat for this one, I think. Now, having a look at the matches, to me, this will be the match of the night. And I'm going to have to call this out. You've gone soft with a draw. You really have, buddy.
I just think both players are they're so similar in the way they play. Like they're both, pacey, young, and exciting players, and they both get a bit fired up when they're playing. And just with the way both of them are playing at the minute, it is very hard to. It's toss a coin.
Yeah, it's toss a coin. Hard to get a feel because we haven't seen too much darts lately. But I've gone for Smith. I reckon it'll be 7-5, and you've gone the soft option. I'm sorry, but you have gone the soft option.
Yeah, you won't be saying that if you put 50 on it and ends up being a draw.
Well, that's a valid point too. The next match is Peter Wright and Daryl Gurney, and we're both gone for the Wright Meister, the snake bite. Poor Daryl Gurney. If there was someone that shouldn't be playing in the Premier League, to be all honest, it shouldn't be Daryl.
Well, I think he won. I can't remember the name of it. The name of the tournament he won last year. He beat Van Gaalen in the final. Yeah. I'm pretty sure if he hadn't have won that, he wasn't in it.
Yeah. And the other thing, folks, if you're not sure, it's all based on where they sit money wise on the table. But
it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. It's based off It's based off your rankings, like your money rankings, and then it's also based off the titles you've won throughout the year.
Yeah, and there's a sponsor.
They generally give it to and then I think is it Sky Sports have a pick.
Yeah, and that's how Glenn Durrant got in. Based on how well he performed in his first year. Then we've got Michael Van Gerwen versus Gary Anderson. We've both gone for Gary Anderson. And as you said earlier, these games are toss-ups a lot of the time. Michael Van Gerwen has gone from being the Iron Man, no one can beat him, to anyone can give him a good run for their money and beat him on any time. And I think to me, Gary Anderson is a bit like Peter Wright. If they are in form, it's very hard to beat them. And I just think Gary will he'll win that quite comfortably, I think, 7-2, 7-3.
Yeah, I've gone for Gary as well. I think it'll be a little bit closer than that. Gary said it himself. Gary said that Michael Van Gerwen is one of the people he actually really enjoys playing because the both of them just go up and play it. There's none of the other silly tactics or anything that some of the other players try and do. It's just they go up and they just try and beat each other on the board. There's none of that at all. Okie doke.
So, as you said, the two of them like playing each other. They're both quick. That'll be the quickest match of the night, I think. But I'm still going Gary.
Yeah, I'm still going Anderson. I think Anderson will be very much up for that game and looking to take another scalp off Michael.
That'll be good to see. Now, the last game is Gerwin Price versus the contender. Why they got him here, I don't know. There's not many people I don't like watching play a sport, but this guy is one, Jermaine Watamina. If I was there, I'd probably throw my camera at him, I reckon, when he carries on like he does. He gets all excited over tons. But I've gone for Gerwin Price. I think if he wins this, it'll just get him through because this is judgment night, the final night, before it all gets ugly for him. But Price will win this 7-1, 7-2.
Yeah, what I've gone for Gale and Price as well. What I mean, it must be the bipolar opposite of Darragh Gurney in the sense that, you don't like watching Darragh Gurney play because he's so boring. And then you don't like watching Whatamina play because, if he hits a 5, he's excited.
Well, so am I, but we're at a bit different levels.
Oh, well, yeah, he's playing top of the pops and, we're just playing against pops.
Yeah, but
I reckon the scorers for this game will have to wear earmuffs.
Yeah.
Because with the way those two carry on, it'll be like, a schoolyard playground. It'll be just screaming everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the wrap of the first 3 nights back at the Premier League. Shane will be back with the regular dart spots. And from night 9, I think there's a 4 or 5 day gap, and then we go into the next legs. Now, they were going to be played in different locations. They've all gone back behind closed doors at Milton Keynes, I think. So it's all going to be back at the same place. Just before you go, Shane, what do you think of the PDC bringing out the women's tournament? Let me get. So they got the girls having a tournament, and this is going to determine the positions for the World Championships at the end of the year. So what do you is that now the demise of the BDO for women?
Yes, I think it was only a matter of time before the PDC brought in another tournament for women, especially with Lisa Ashton, getting a talk card and the way Fallon Sherrock played in the last World Championship.
Yeah, it was always.
I think it'll bury the BDO. I think the BDO has pretty much buried itself after last year's fiasco.
Yeah.
And now the guy who was running the JDC, the Junior Darts Corporation, has now come out with an amateur version of it.
Yep.
And I think the PDC's just taken over. The PDC's taken over everything the BDO used to stand for and what it used to give to darts.
And the beauty of the PDC too is when they come into town, they don't just come in and play darts. They get involved with the community as well, which is a big thing as far as I'm concerned.
And if you have a look at most of the local clubs, it is all about the community of that area as well.
Yeah.
And most clubs are like, a tight-knit community, and will help each other and get together when needed to do stuff for each other's club. And I guess that was one of the things I liked about darts when I first started playing, was how everyone kind of got together and, forgot about their problems outside of darts and just came and enjoyed the game and played.
Yeah.
And with the atmosphere the PDC has created, like with the fancy dress, the music, the walk-ons, they've just kind of grasped that concept of, people use this as their escape as well from everyday life.
Yeah, and
they've made it really fun.
And they've taken it from a pub sport to a legitimate professional sport.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, the days of playing in the pubs where you can't see the board because there's that much smoke and the boys drinking pints on stage. Like, I know a lot of the guys they could still play the professional side of things are all bigger guys. But if you put them all on stage now against the guys, playing in the pubs, they're all a lot leaner and a lot fitter than what the other guys used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And the some of the juniors that are coming through too, the PDC are looking after them as well, like Keen Barry, Leighton Bennett, last year's Junior World Championship, which I've forgotten his name, Irish lad.
Luke. Is it Meehan? Kean?
No, it's Luke. People were surprised. I'll find it in another episode for you, but yeah, it's just going in the right direction. with the PDC. So,
Well,
Shane?
the PDC have grasped the concept that the future of every sport is the youth that play it.
Yep. Yeah.
And you look at some of the averages these kids are throwing. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's like even Bo Grease, she's unbelievable young talent as well. But as I've always thought, Barry Hearn is a very, very smart businessman, and he sees opportunities and takes them.
Yes, and I think like you said, I think the BDO have just given him the perfect ammunition to swoop in and take over the amateur and ladies side of things without any fuss or blowback from the general public.
Yeah, which is good for us. Good for us punters that love the darts.
It takes away that big company taking over little company.
Yeah, and there's no animosity because one shot themselves in the foot, and the other one took the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Darts is on the up and up, and it just seems to be getting better. The standard seems to be getting better, and all the more for it.
So true. So there we go, folks. That's the big. The first big show for darts, and there'll be more coming. Shane's now involved. Now, we don't have any interpreters, so you got to learn to listen to his Irish accent. It's not that bad. I've listened to worse.
The translator on my phone broke, I'm sorry.
So just remember, folks, to jump on to the We Just Love Sports Facebook page, Instagram, and From the Shed podcast on all your podcasting platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast. And once again, thanks to Avid Darts. We've got the big set of MVG Adrenalines to be given away over the Premier League period. So make sure you share this about. On We Just Love Sports, there'll be the information how to enter. It's got to be simple, like and share the page and get everybody involved. And Shane, thanks for your time, mate. And
no worries, Pete. It's been enjoyable.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing who was right and who was wrong with these results.
Yeah, probably none of us, but
More than likely, that'll be the case.
Yeah, so for Shane and I, tomorrow night's dart night, so we'll be having a good toss at our local club. Where are you playing tomorrow night?
I'll be at Logan.
Okay.
And by good toss.
Yeah.
That's wishful thinking at the moment.
Yeah. And I'll be at our home club, which is Redlands. So once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the show, Shane. As always, have a good week and enjoy your tossing, folks.